In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a great website for your indie games, and how you can easily use it to provide quick maintenance and updates in the future to not only save you a lot of time, but save you from a lot of headaches as well. Hey, I'm Jake McNeal. I'm an indie developer currently working on my dream game, Project Jumbo. And if you're new here, I focus on making devlogs and tutorials to help you guys with everything it takes to become an indie developer. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like, and let's get into this. Now, making a website will definitely help in making you stand out as a professional indie game developer. Not only will it give you a place to represent all of your work, but it will also give you a place to give information to journalists and even hold your privacy policies. Now today I'm going to show you how to make a really easy homepage for your website that is modular and will grab the user's attention, getting them to your game download pages. So starting off this project, what you're going to need is a root folder with the name of what you want to call your website. So in this case, I'm making a personal website as an indie developer and I'm naming it Jake McNeal. That's my name. And in that root folder, you're going to need a couple things. The first thing that you're going to need is an index.html file. You can create this using either Notepad or TextEdit on Mac. It's really simple. Just make sure that it's .html at the end, and it must be titled index. That's very important. The other thing you're going to need is a style sheet. So make sure that it's labeled style.css. The only other thing is we have an images folder. So in my images, we have a couple social media icons. We have one for Discord, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Next, you're gonna want a fav icon. It's just what your logo is, just downscale it to 16 by 16. I have some images that are going to showcase the games that I've created, and I have a couple of those. And then I also have a logo. This logo has my icon, my YouTube icon, and then it just says Jake McNeal. And then I also have a YouTube subscribe button, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So with that said, let's open up both the index.html and style.css. So on the left, I have my index.html, and on the right, I have my style.css. And before we can do anything with the style sheet, we do have to work on the initial HTML. So first, starting out, we're just going to make our initial declarations just like you would do in any HTML website. So we're going to type doc type, and then it's just a lowercase HTML, and then we just need to open our HTML and then just make sure that we close out of it. So the next step with every website is you're going to want to create your head, and then just make sure to close out of it. And within this head, we're going to do a couple things. The first thing we're going to do is give our website a title. The title of my website is going to be called Jake McNeal. And the other two things that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create a fav icon, and we're going to want to link our style sheet to the HTML document. So how you would do that is you would link, and then type rel, do a shortcut icon. We'll just type in href, and what href is it's just it's a link. What we're looking for specifically is our fav icon, and if you look at our file hierarchy, this is what we're going to be using to get every one of our images. We're in our root folder, so to go any further down the root folder, we're going to have to first do images / and then we're going to grab our fav icon. So it will look like this. You'll just type in images for that folder, and then / means go into that folder, and then grab your fav icon. You have to label what its extension is, so PNG. Next, we want to link our style sheet. So once again, let's make another link, and this time we're gonna do rel equals, and then we're gonna call this style sheet, and then we're going to grab our link to it. And this one is style.css. Next, we want to create the body of the website. So just open the body and then close it out. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is separate everything in the body of the HTML document into different categories. And why we do this is because we're going to grab these categories and reference them in our style sheet so that we can modify the values in this style sheet rather than cluttering up the HTML document. So let's start off by making a div and then calling it class header. So just do that and you'll understand what this means in a little bit, but then we need to make sure that we close out of our divider. So in this header, I want to add in my logo. So to do that, we're just going to go and call an image, and we're going to call this class so that we can edit it in the style sheet, class logo. And the source of this is going to be images \logo.png. And that's all we want to do with that. It's not going to be a link or anything, so we'll just close out the image. Let's save that and see what it looks like in here. Okay, so you can immediately see that it's giant and the text is white, so it's not pulling up against the white background. Not at all what we want. So this is where the style sheet comes in. So if we come over to our style sheet, we're going to just adjust the entire border of the website, and we want to just make sure that the margin is 0 and the padding is also 0. We don't want any of that. We want to choose the background color for the entire website. So let's create the body tag. Every one of these tags references something in the HTML. So the body represents this, the body. Everything between here and this point will be referenced and stylized through this. So within the body, we can do something cool like calling a background color, and then we'll just, I've already pre-picked some colors for this website, but you can put whatever you want as long as it's a hexadecimal value. So now if we were to come here, you can see that the background has changed to this blue that I've chosen, that I've pre-chosen. It doesn't really match this blue. It's probably an oversight on my end, but whatever. So let's come back and we want to edit these tags, both the header and the logo in our CSS. Now, any tag that is already a HTML standard can be referenced without a period. But if we're going to create our own class, so like a header and logo, you have to start it off with dot and then reference it, header, and then it's the same. So let's create a header and a logo. So in this header, I want it to be a different color than the body of the website. So we're once again just going to come here and do another background color, and I've pre-picked another color, paste it in. So you can see the new color, and the logo is way too big, so let's adjust that now. So how we're going to do that is we're going to call height, and we are going to make it 60 pixels tall. We want the scale to be the same of the image that we've created. So with width, we don't want to do any math or anything, so we'll just say auto, and this will automatically keep it to the correct scale. And great. But there's a problem. You can see that up at the top, there's really no padding. So to give this some padding, otherwise known as a margin, what you type in is actually margin, and we're just going to give it 12 pixels. And this will give it 12 pixels around the entire image. So now it looks more like that. We're going to spice it up a little bit, just a little bit, by adding in what I call a color bar. So what let's do is make another divider, class equals, and we're going to call this one color bar. And then the only thing that we're going to put in here, we want it to take up one line of the document. So the way that you do that is a \br, and this just means break. It just means break one line. And so what this is going to do is it's going to have an empty space there, and we're just going to want to fill it with color. So if you save that and you come into your CSS, we only want it to be a solid color, so let's reference it by color bar. And then once again, background color, I've pre-selected this, and save it. And then if you come into your website, you will see this nice little additional bar just to help separate the document from the body or the content that we're going to be creating later. Normally, you would want to work on your content first, but we're not really going to do that. yet. We're gonna create the footer first. For our footer, let's just make another division and we'll call it class equals footer. And in this footer, we're gonna create what we call a table. To create a table, first you reference that you want one as a table, and then you must close out of it just like everything else. And for this table specifically, we're going to want to reference it in the style sheet. So let's give it a class name of footer content. Now, as tables go, every table is broken up into rows and columns. So with tables, you first look at the rows and then you add in the columns after that. So to create a row, it's TR, which is basically, you can just think of it as table row, and then you have to close out of them. So make sure you do that. And for this, we're going to create 2 rows. So let's make one more. And then inside the table or the table row, you're going to want to create the individual cells. So to do that, a cell is labeled as TD. Just make them and then close them out. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to create 4 of them. One for Discord, one for Instagram, one for YouTube, and one for Twitter. Okay, so let's just copy and paste this 3 more times. And we're only going to want one cell underneath, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So let's first come back up here, and we're going to start editing our social media icons. Now, since all of these icons are images, we're just going to create an image. And we're going to give this a class name of social icon. Yeah, social icon. And then for the image's source, we're going to just reference it by source equals, and it is located in images / social media icons / and then this one we're going to use YouTube first. So for my instance, it's tube.png. And then you want to close out of the image. You wouldn't want to just have an image because it doesn't do anything. You know, you want to be able to click on it and actually go to your link. So to do that, to create a link to another website, you reference it with the A tag. And then just like up here, we can add the link. So href equals, and then this is where you would put your URL. For me, I'm not going to actually link anything, so I'm just going to put a number, a pound sign, and that just refreshes the page, honestly, when you use that. So then just make sure to come after the image and just end the link. Let's just copy this over and paste it in for the other ones. And you're just going to want to put in your information on this. But for me, all I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to different images that I have. So if we save that and we come back in, we can see all of them are loaded in correctly. Of course, they're all the wrong size, but we'll get into that in a second. So that's everything on that table's row that we want to do, but underneath we want a row that's going to go over our copyright. So within here, we're just going to claim, you're just going to want to write copyright, and to get that fancy copyright symbol, you're just going to do and then copy, and then the year is 2020, and this is for, make sure you write your own name in, obviously, but then all rights reserved, period. There's already a problem, and I'll show you. If we were to do this, one, the text is not the right color, but it's also, if you look, it's not centered, it's not, but what's really going on is it's only below the YouTube cell. Now we want this to go through all 4 of them. And the way that you do that is you come to your table cell, right? And what you're going to do is type in colspan, and then because there's 4 images, we want it to span the entire 4 columns. So you would just go equals 4. So in our style sheet, the first one that we created was the footer, so let's edit that first. So dot footer. So in our footer, we're going to want to do a couple things, a lot of things actually. But the first one is we're going to want to adjust the text from the copyright. And what we're going to do for this, we want to change the font, we want to align it correctly, and we also want to change the color. The easiest one to do first is just color, and we want it to be white. And then we want to align the text in the center, so we'll do text align and then center. And then the last thing, we want to change the font because no one wants Times New Roman, so let's just change it to Helvetica. So the way you change a font is you go font, family, you want to do Arial, Helvetica, and in the style of sans serif. You can see that it's changed the font, changed it to white, and it has also centered it. Perfect. The next thing we want to do is we don't want it to be up tight like this. We want it to be down a little bit from whatever content that we're going to bring in later. Let's add in some padding on the top. And we'll just do 30 pixels. Should be good. And then padding from the bottom, we're going to do 100 pixels. So next, we want to create an actual size, because this is right now, it's taking up the whole thing. We want it to be a lot smaller than that. So what we're going to do is we're going to reference our footer content. So dot footer content. And we're going to give it a max size, so a width. And it's going to be a width of 400 pixels. But the images are still too large, so it's not gonna do anything yet. So we're going to come, and we've already classified these as social icons. So just do social icon, and we want to change all of these images and make them a lot smaller. So let's do a height of 30 pixels, and then like before, a width of auto. So now if we were to refresh, you can see that's what it looks like. You're probably wondering why it's not aligned. We're going to be aligning the basic tables to be in the center later. So for right now, this is where we're going to leave the footer at. And we're actually going to go back into this and create our main content for the page. And like before, we're going to classify this as content. Don't forget to exit out of it. For your content, you have to understand that most people are going to be viewing your content on a mobile device. Because most people are going to be using mobile devices, you want to target mobile devices first. Build for mobile devices, and then build for the other screen sizes. Because we're going to be formatting it differently depending on if it's in mobile versus whether it's in a tablet/desktop mode, we're going to classify another thing. We're going to call it mobile table. And then just make sure that you exit out of it. And we're also going to create another one that's going to handle the desktop and tablet versions, and we're going to call this desktop table. So inside the mobile version, we're going to want to create a table, just like we did with the footer. And inside this table, we want a piece of text above it. You could do a col span like you did before with the text right here. But for this specific case, we want it to be up top, and there's an easier way of doing that without having to do all that other crap. And the way you reference that is with a caption. Don't forget to close it out. Okay, and then inside the caption, this is where we're going to be showing off all of the games. So I'm just going to reference that and then continue. So now it'll be just like any other table that we were creating with the tables, rows and cells, or rows and columns. So for this example, I'm going to say that I have 2 games, and then I also want to throw in a subscribe button. So we're going to need 3 rows for a stack so that they can scroll from them. So let's do that. Let's create 3 rows. And let's copy that. So now that we have our 3 rows, let's go and create our cells. Now, because this is a mobile version, we only want 1 cell each. So let's do that. And inside these cells, we want to just add image links. It's very similar to what we've done down here. In fact, it's exactly the same. So let's just do that. Let's do ahref, creating the link. For this, I'm not going to put anything, but you would put your URL to where you want to download them. Make sure that you close out of your link. And then we want to create our image and the source of said image will be it's images \img 3.png. Because I know the other one's so similar, I'm just going to paste it there and change the 3 to a 1. And then down here, we're going to just throw it in as well. Except this time, it's not image 3. We titled it as YouTube. You can see the title of games and then Marshy's, Crosswalk Joyride, and subscribe all in a list format. Right now, it looks terrible. So let's go ahead and fix it. But first, before fixing it, we want to add in our desktop version. So this one is going to be very similar to the last one for mobile, except it's going to have 1 on each side, and then the subscribe is going to be all the way on the bottom. Let's actually just take our caption. We want the caption to be the same. And then we're only going to have 2 rows now in this one. And we're going to have 2 cells on the top. So TD, close TD. Let's just copy that. And then on the bottom, we're going to have 1 as well. And we want to expand it to both of them. So let's do colspan equals 2. Okay, so now we just want to grab the content. It's the same stuff. You can just come up here and grab it and paste it in. And then save it, and let's see what it looks like. So when we come into it, you can see that it has the games, it has the 2 sides. This one actually does extend, we just haven't stretched the image all the way over yet, so we'll get to that in a bit. So that's actually everything that we're gonna need in our index or our HTML file for this. So you can actually just save that, and we're gonna do everything else from the style sheet to fix it. So our first one that we created, our new one, is content. So we're going to want to create that. So let's do .content. And all we're going to want to do for this, we don't want it to be this blue color on the main page. So we're going to do a new background color. We're just going to say white. And here you can see that the footer still stays that nice blue, but our main page is that white that we want. Great. So that's all we want for our content. So now we want to reference just the basic table property so that we can center all the tables, including the one on the footer. So if we do that, we don't need to type in dot. We'll just go table. And I know, because we're developing for mobile first, right? Mobile is going to be like this. It's going to be about this size. So you can see that this table exceeds the limits of the screen, and we don't like that. So let's make the table only the width of 80% of the screen. And then we want to center this table in the screen. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to hit margin left. Oop, my bad. Margin left, and we're going to say auto. And then margin right auto. Now I'm not going to show that because the images are too large. You won't even actually get to see it. So let's actually go down here first and do reference our image. And this is going to reference every single image in the whole thing, so be careful with that. You'd have to override certain properties with your other classes. Now, this image, we are just going to make it we only want it to be as wide as the cell is. The width needs to be 100% of the enclosing box or cell that it's in. So now if we hit save and we come here, you can see that it's 80% of the entire screen is where the table is, and the image has scaled appropriately and filled in 100% of that. So next, we want to adjust this caption because right now it looks like shit. So let's go caption, and let's change its font family first. And we're just going to copy this one for ease of use. You can choose whatever font you want. And next, we want it to be a little bit bigger, so we're going to go to the actual font size. And we're just going to say 70 pixels. Yeah, 70 pixels. And then as the color goes, I want the color to match this blue. So I'm just going to grab that. It's just the same as we've done before. It's just the color, and I'm just making it that color. So now if we were to save that and come back in, you can see it's a lot bigger. It has that color that we want and the font style. When you look at this, the padding, it's really close together on all of these, and we don't want that. So let's reference our table cells, so our TD, and let's just give it some padding. And we'll just say padding of 15 pixels. You can see that it has separated it very nicely. Now the only other thing you're going to want to do, for the mobile version at least, is we're going to want to make this part, because you don't want it to show up twice, you're going to want to make this part disappear. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to reference this class. So type in .desktop table. And what we're going to do is we're going to say display none. And this is just going to hide it on the mobile version. So if we go back to our mobile version and we were to refresh, suddenly it's all gone, and it's just everything that we want to see. So back in our CSS, what we want to do is we want to change certain things based on the different screen sizes that we're going to get. So you want a mobile version, a tablet version, and a desktop version. Now since we built mobile first, we're going to want to then go to our tablet and then to our desktop. And what we're going to do is we're just going to type out @media screen and then go into this and say minimum width. For the minimum width of all tablets that we want, if it's less than 736 pixels, we want it to be considered a mobile phone, and everything above that to be considered a tablet. So let's do 736 pixels, and then you're just going to want to make some enclosing brackets. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to show the desktop version but not show the mobile version. So let's do that. So let's reference our desktop table. And what this is doing, you're probably like, hey, I already wrote it right up here, right? So this is going to override everything that we put in this. It only overrides the stuff that we changed specifically for this. So if you left certain things up here, like a color and something, and you didn't want that to change, you don't have to redo it in this. You only add the things that you're going to change. So let's do display and then flex. Now what flex is, it's just going to stretch it to the whole thing. So just don't worry about that. Okay, so type in mobile and then table. And then we're just going to change this one to display none. So now if we were to save that and come back and refresh, you're like, nothing changes. But if we were to drag this and it was to hit that 736 pixels, you can see that it automatically jumps to its new size. But there's a problem. The desktop version's still too big, and we don't like that. Let's just copy this, paste it down, and we're going to change this to our desktop version. And we are going to make this and change it to 1,000 pixels. That's the one we want for our desktop version. And we don't need this because If we already switched it on the tablet version, this means that we don't have to worry about it for our desktop version. So for this desktop version, we want to change the dimensions of the table to fit it. So let's come in here and we're going to reference the table. And we're just going to set it to a width of 900 pixels. And this will change it from the 80% to 90 pixels. Because of that, the cells of the table, we are going to want to change those as well. So let's reference those. Let's go to TD, and we want them to be half of each. So each cell needs to take up half of the entire block here. So the width of them, half of 900 is 450, so just 450 pixels. Now if we were to save that and refresh the page, suddenly it's all looking very, very good. This is the website. It's very simple. It's very easy to update. I mean, your code is like not long at all on both parties. It's functional. It changes to both a tablet screen size and a mobile. It has all your links to your social medias, and it even shows off your icon. And like I said before, you can easily update this site to add in some pages once you create multiple pages for the website, and everything should be good. And that's about it. The website is fully functional, and it's a really minimalistic and simple, right to the point kind of design. And you can easily modify it through the tables to change things to however you want, really. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and in the next video, I'm going to show you guys how to host this website for free and then link a domain to it. So subscribe if you haven't subscribed so you don't miss out on the next tutorial. It is a huge step, and it's, like I said, free. Well, anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one.